Stay Sane with Jane, the show that helps you and your business to thrive, not just survive. Tune in each week as Jane connects with guests in the wellness, business and publishing worlds, bringing you the most up-to-date training, techniques, healing and guidance for growth, mindset and motivation. Each session includes a magical guided meditation led by Jane or one of her special guests. Here's your host, Jane Scanlon. Hello and welcome to this week's Stay Sane with Jane. And I'm going to be interviewing the wonderful Brenda Dempsey of book Brilliance Publishing. So Brenda has an amazing team, which I'm just looking at online. It's full of amazing proofreaders, editors, production designers, administrators, authors, sales coaches, operations managers, digital marketing, accountants. I mean, the list goes on. But Brenda came from humble beginnings, didn't you, Brenda? And now here you are as a CEO of Book Brilliance Publishing.
I did, Jane. Thanks very much for inviting me on your wonderful, wonderful show. I'm so delighted to be here today, sharing little nuggets of wisdom and insights into all the things that you talked about at the start of your show. So yeah, humble beginnings. Absolutely. I tell people I was born in a hole in the wall, 6 foot by 6 foot. And so that developed my I can mindset. So you can do anything you want with your life as long as you have a vision, you have drive, and you're determined to serve and have something way bigger than you yourself. And that's, my journey has been long. I'm happy to discuss any of it if that's what you want to do, Jane. And
yeah, definitely. Tell me a little bit more about you. We'll come on to your career and all the wonderful things that you do and how you help people. But tell us more about Brenda.
So, as I said, I started off very poor, humble backgrounds, poor in terms of financial, but very an enriched background because I was brought up with love and security, food on the table and a roof over my head. Although the quality of, it was always good quality food. That was the one thing. Although we were poor, my mother never bought rubbish food. It was always the best food. It was the best food she could afford to buy. And that kind of gave me a good start in life because we had nutrition. We didn't have fast food. We had nothing like that. I was just thinking about this yesterday, funnily enough, all the amazing food, because it's, as you know, it's in the news right now about all the emulsifiers and how bad all this junk food is for us.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm going to hold my hand up. I'm not a nutritionist. That's not my field of expertise. But from a human being who eats relatively well, it is a mindset thing, because we all think we're busy and we'll just grab that, all this ready meal muck, I've got to say. But actually making foods that's nutritious and good for you is actually all in the mind. It takes a long time. There's a lot of preparation. I just had chicken for my dinner yesterday, took the carcass, threw it in a pot of water. I boiled it up for 90 minutes or so to get all the goodness, because, bone broth.
Got the full chicken broth.
Yes. I had some leftover vegetables from it. I had some leek. I threw it all in. I've just had a plate of it half an hour ago before I come on your show, Jane. And actually, there's nothing in that. Pure, wholesome ingredients. And that took about 20 minutes to make. Nothing.
Yes.
By the time you faff about, your soup's boiling away and doing it, and then boom, you're ready. Ladle it up. Eat a bit of bread if you like bread, but I don't eat bread. That's another story. But anyway, so, but yeah, so there's lots of things you can do to eat really good, nutritious food that's tastier than all the muck. When you look at it, there's no colour in the food.
I know. My grandpa used to say, you have to have If you want a healthy body and mind, have as much colour on your plate. Have a colourful plate.
Absolutely.
And I was brought up on home cooked meals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meals, and that's what I do in my house as well, and it really helps the body and the mind. And when I've done things like detoxes and stuff like that, I've noticed how just eating clean creates a better mindset for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't get the dips in energy, there's a clarity, all of that. But anyway, so I was brought up with wholesome food, that background, but I was always a determined child. I was a well-behaved child, and I did it, my mother said. But I want to share with the listeners so that they can go back into their childhood and look, is the key to everything that you want to be and are is in that childhood. So I remember as a child at primary school, but this one story, when I was 10, I saw on the TV Biafran babies, pot-bellied, no clothes on, starving because of war in Biafra. And I was moved. And I said to my mum, I'm going to raise money for them. And my mum says, oh, don't be so daft. I said, yes. Now, all my clothes were bought at jumble sales. I didn't get brand new clothes. I think my school uniform was about, even then, some of it was secondhand. But because we didn't have money for clothes, you know.
Yeah.
Food was more important than the clothes. So anyway, I thought, well, I know about jumble sales because my mother always took me. So I thought, I'm going to have a jumble sale in the street, I may add. This must have been around the summertime. And my mother says, no, you're not going to do it. Now, I went from being 100% obedient child to knowing there was something in me that was divine, that knew that I had to do this, because my mother saying no was for silly reasons. Whereas I know by raising that money, I would make a significant difference to the lives of those children. So I went out, I raised the equivalent of a week's wages back in 1967.
Wow.
68. So it was like £8.12 and something, right? Which was a week's wages for an ordinary manual worker in those days. And so my life's been like that. I've always been a voice for the underrepresented. I've always taken them under my wing, not to disempower them, because I've realized when I look back over my life, I've always empowered people. How have I done that? Because I give them belief in themselves, show them that they can do it, and that grows their confidence. So off they go. Now, as a 6-year-old, I wanted to be a teacher, but unfortunately, I got married very young. I had 4 children, but got so involved in their nursery. I started one of the first collaborative approaches with that, working with health, education, welfare, social work, all of that. So I did that as a young mum, but then I went back to education myself, because I left school with no qualifications, and I got my degree. It took me 5 years to get that degree. But my big story happens in that final year of that degree. Now, I got married young. I had 4 children. And in that time, I realised, not so much at the time, it's only on reflection and as I've moved on and developed, but I was in an abusive relationship, domestic violence, narcissism, subject of that. And in my final year, I found myself homeless with my 4 children. That's another massive story. Don't need to go into that in detail. People can work it out for themselves. But I ended up there in my final year, and I thought, and this was at the start of my final year. So this was in the summer. So this would be about July-ish time, something like that. And anyway, but no, and here is the learning that I want to share with your listeners. You need a goal bigger than you, because that will fuel your determination. You need that why. So my why to go on, even though I had no money, had nothing, I was homeless, I was in sheltered housing, I knew I had still got to go to university. Why? My big why was, if I didn't, I would remain in poverty. That continuing, even although I was broken, right, was enough to get me out of bed and get me to university every day. Because with that degree, that opened the doors of opportunity to me earning my own money, to me having a decent enough wage to help me look after my 4 children, keep a roof over our head, and get back to because I left a very high standard of living. So we went from right at the bottom of the pile. For 12 months, I had to accept benefits, but I knew this was short lived. So, I didn't have any pride about that because I had to do what I have to do. And that's the thing about humans. You will do what you have to do. Now, I wasn't doing anything bad, but you will go as low as anything, to the lowest of the low, and endurance and adversity to find, because the lower you go, the higher you climb. So I couldn't go any lower other than take my life. And that crossed my mind a few times, but there wasn't all the big mental health there is around these things now.
Yeah.
I had something in me that's God-given that allowed me to be bigger than my adversity, that gave me the determination, the strength, the inner strength, the resilience to achieve that degree. And oh my God, I do NLP as well, Jane.
Yes.
And one of the techniques, anchoring, you ask your client, what's the happiest event in your life? And it's for you. So besides giving birth, it was my graduation day. Nobody could burst my bubble on that day. I walked on air because I had achieved a dream of 30 years, more than 30 years, that gave me freedom. And we're always looking for freedom. Oh my goodness, I'm tingling, Jane. I'm speaking my truth here, and that's what I want to share. That's a lesson for your listeners, because everything is within you. But if you focus on your adversity, you're keeping yourself imprisoned. Sorry.
Yes, you are.
I believe in being straight talking, raw and real. But the more you keep focusing on your negativity, I'm not saying I had pity parties, I cried, but do you know what? They never lasted.
That's the thing. It's okay, and it's absolutely fine to go, do you know what? I'm in a bad place right now. I'm having a bad day. I'm having a bad week, a bad year, or whatever. But what's the positive in it? What can I do to get out of this? How can I change this?
Exactly.
It's kind of looking for those. I always say there are unlimited options out there. I might not see them right now, but if I keep on focusing on the unlimited options, I will see them and they will come along.
Exactly.
Rather than focusing on the things that go wrong in life. Yeah.
It's that old thing about the human brain. You go and you buy a car. So let's say you buy your dream car. For me, that was a 2-seater Mercedes, right? But I never noticed many on the road. But when I was thinking about wanting to buy them, everybody had a 2-seater.
They were there.
Or when I was pregnant, every woman seemed to be pregnant. And then when you're not pregnant, you don't see pregnant women. So it's that whole, there is a phenomena. There's a name to it. I can't remember it at the moment. But anyway, so that is my main story in my life. It's that I can mindset. Nobody tells Brenda what she can and cannot do. And when we can help other people, men and women, tap into that inner power, because it comes from the inside. It doesn't come from outside of you. Because if you remain on the outside, you are not going to rise above your adversity. Rise like the phoenix. You know about that. With voices of courage, voices of hope. 2 of the books that I've written that you've been part of, Jane.
Yes.
And that was the start of our wonderful relationship. And even though we don't talk every week or anything, we can just pick up where we left off, because we've got that soul connection.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So anyway, so I became a teacher, and within 2 to 3 years, I got into the field of special needs. Now, usually you need to be in teaching 10 years, but there was just something in special needs that it was a duck to water,
Yes.
And so, long story short, I ended up working in special needs for the majority of my educational career. So I started off as a primary school teacher in special needs. Then here's another important story I want to share. Let's park the teaching for a moment. In 2004, my father died. So that was the first death in my family that I experienced.
Wow.
And he had ill health all of my life. when I was born, he was in the hospital with tuberculosis. So he had lung problems and breathing problems all of my life. So I only know my father as this man with breathing problems and inhalers, you know.
Yeah.
And my mother, she contracted lupus. Andrew must have been around 1990 because my son was he was just a baby toddler type. And so she ended up very ill with lupus. So I ended up being a carer for both my parents. But what I want to say to you about that, so that was a huge bind. I'm dealing with a narcissistic relationship. I'm training to be a teacher. I've got two very ill parents. I get them to come and live close by. And my mother ends up in a wheelchair. So over time, they're getting older, so their health worsened. So my father dies in 1st of April 2004, so we'll never forget that day. And just over a year later, my mother dies. In fact, it's June the 8th. In 2 days' time will be her anniversary. So a year later. So I lost both my parents within in a year. So
Wow.
a lot. And one day it hit me. I thought, God, I'm an orphan. You know, that really hit me hard. But somewhere along the line, I wasn't looking for love, but I'd met somebody just after my father's death. And so 3 weeks after I buried my mother, I packed my whole life up and moved to Surrey, where I am now, Epsom in Surrey. And it took me, you know, that was the godsend. That was, you know, I was sent David to help me not go down the dark hole of loss. And because I moved away, because I saw my mother and father every single day of my life, every day of my life, you know.
Wow.
So it would have been a nightmare for me to have stayed there. I'm sure it would be a different story had I remained there. And my children had all left. I was an empty nester. They'd all gone to uni. They were one of them had get married, and you know, so my children were grown up. So empty nest is a big subject, you know. So that took a bit of a toll on me, but again, I'm resilient and bouncing back. But anyway, but the point, this is the next main life lesson that I want to share. Now, death hits everybody differently.
Yes.
And I'm a very unique individual because although, I grieve, I'm in pain, I know to rise above it because I know my parents are now out of misery and pain and suffering with the illness that they had, right? So I decide, it's a choice. I choose to focus on the fact that they're free.
Yes.
But this will probably make me cry because what I realized in my life, I had sacrificed all of my life up until I was 46, 47. Looking after the world, bringing up children, my parents. And I realized, and it wasn't then, I only realized this in the last year or two, that my parents, so this is where it'll get me, my parents died to give me freedom.
Oh, wow. Gosh, that's deep, Brenda, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is how I know I'm unique and I'm a gift and divine messenger of God, because I have this depth of insight about humanity and about what the meaning of life is, you know. And I read and I read and I practice and I practice, and I find more evidence, and I speak to people and they affirm my belief and they show me other things that shapes my beliefs, you know. And these beliefs are all beautiful and all based on, and I say you've got use your energy. We're all energetic beings, and that's what it's about. But actually realizing that I had the freedom of choice. We've always got the freedom of choice, but we restrict that freedom of choice. But I knew I had no children left. They'd gone. My parents were now gone. I had nobody or anything in the world that could stop me and imprison me other than myself. So that's why I left. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but looking back and on that reflection, which is another life skill you must develop, a reflective practitioner, then you realize the gift and the reason. Always, there's a reason why things happen. And we lost, and I'll go even deeper, because we lost, so within 2 years, we lost 4 members of our family. So it was, and on the third death was a child. And that
my
child
goodness.
was 21 months. And that child had Krabbe's disease, which is one of these degenerative diseases that eats the myelin sheath of the brain. And so they become blind, paralyzed, deaf, can't
Oh,
swallow, everything.
goodness.
So
Yeah.
so my niece and her husband are just, they're my heroes. And I'll cry again here. And but what that showed me was my niece and her husband endured that absolute unimaginable pain if you're a parent,
Yes.
that they had to endure, and they endured it with grace, with
Mm.
dignity, and with a humility that is only God given. And based on so obviously, I mean, my niece hasn't been the same, and that was 18 years ago now that
Yeah.
Jack died. And but she found the strength to start a charity and to work and to be this shoulder, because Krabbe's is only less than 1% of babies are born with it. There was only 2 cases in the UK. There's a few in America, but it's similar to things like Batten's disease and a lot of these diseases.
Yes.
But my niece was given that role to help her deal with the loss of her child.
Yeah.
Fortunately, she went on and had another child who doesn't obviously doesn't have Krabbe's disease, and he's now, say, he'll be 14 this August, and so therefore she got some joy from that loss, but that loss will always be with her, and she'll carry that to the day.
Always. But she also got the gift in it, and that's what I speak to my clients about, that life will always throw things at you. It doesn't matter how much you meditate or are mindful or whatever, all these practices, but they're here to help us get through life in the best possible way, to help us to slow down, to reflect, review, see the gifts in life, see the lessons that empower us, and then to be able to level up and move forward. Yes.
You know, so therefore it's about learning and doing the inner work about what is death, accepting death as part of the life cycle, you know. So yes, the pain is incredible when you lose someone. I am not diminishing the pain, but what my message and my, I don't know, words of wisdom or whatever to listeners is, if you've experienced death, the death of a loved one, then yes, take your time, lick your wounds, heal. But there's a time and a place to rise from it and start looking more objectively. So when my parents died, I was the one that did everything. I went into, I'm a practical person, Jane, as you know.
Yes.
Went into practicalities, took my mind off it. Take your mind off it. Carve out the niches to go and weep and lick your wounds, but use it to help others. And when you can use your pain, your darkness, your adversity to help one other human being, that's the meaning of life. We're here to share our stories, to share the learning, not the adversity. I don't care what your adversity is, but I care what you learn. Because when I work with authors and we do these books, so yesterday I spoke to a woman whose son committed suicide, and she's like me. And this was like 5 years ago. She is now ready to rise like a phoenix, and she knows that she had to endure that because she knows to go and help other people who have either lost someone to suicide, or someone who's attempting suicide, or got suicide thoughts, or all of these things. So she now knows she has to share the story for that purpose.
Well, I'm just going to come to my next question for you, which is, how did you get started in this field of publishing? How did it occur? You've gone from a school teacher, special needs teacher, to what? Where was the jump?
So the jump came, I'm trying to remember, 2018. It came just after I had left. So this must have been 2017. I just left education. I took the jump, and I wanted to be a coach, as you know. you know, and inspire other people and work with people to share my wisdom. Now, I've got to say, since 2016 today, I have made quantum leaps in my wisdom, insight, and understanding of what it is to be human.
Yes, 100%. I can see that from, you know, just from the time that I've known you.
Yeah, but that came from someone asked me to write for a book, and I thought, I'm not an author. I don't even want to be a writer. That's the funny thing. But I was a writer, but I didn't know it because I've written so much as an educationalist, you know, all sorts of things. But maybe I didn't write stories. But anyway, so I thought, no. And then I said, oh, I don't know about that. He says, oh, you only need to write one page, 250 words. I thought, I could do that. So it was all about, it was just all about being human. So funnily enough, I thought about it and I thought, well, wait a minute here. Actually, and this is the message I want to share with everybody, right? I thought, well, if I'm an author, that's a good thing. I'm sharing something. People will look at me differently. I didn't know that at the time. This was just my mind going, but I did know it's in my subconscious mind. You know, I thought, well, people look at me differently. That'll be good for me as a business owner. That'll be good for me as a coach. I'm a published author.
That was the coach brain, and kicking
so
in.
Said, yes. So I met the woman. It was in Australia, and the story I wrote, the first one I wrote was, all the answers are within. Even then, even though I'm beginning this spiritual path to enlightenment and to love, peace, and all of that, I knew, again, it's the subconscious, it's my inner divinity telling me what to write. You know, I just trust everything. It's like this conversation today. So I wrote that, and then the woman came back, oh, I need some more. So I wrote 2 or 3 more pages on different topics. But the one that sticks with me is all the answers within, because that is the truth. That is the truth 200% every day of my life. The answers, you don't need to go looking outside of yourself. Go on the inner adventure. It's the most thrilling and intoxicating journey that you can go on in your life. If you've not on it, begin it. If you're doing it, practice it on a daily basis. I know you'll agree with me. And then so that was that. And then on the back of that, I don't know how, but somebody in America asked me to speak about leadership. Well, Jane, you know I was all about leadership.
Yes.
So I was all about holistic leadership. Why? Because I was trained holistically in education. And
that self-empowerment, inner enlightenment. Yeah.
So we're not a part person, we're a whole person. So therefore, anything you do, you should work with the whole person, not just a bit of them. So even medicine, now I know a number of medical doctors, and they're now looking at the whole person. They're now looking at psychology.
Thankfully, I really hope they kind of come back to it a little bit, because they used to practice like that. Then they all went specialised into the most minutest niches ever. And we're coming back out again, because it's always good to step back and look at the bigger picture, of course.
So the doctors I know, because these are the type I attract, are people who know about holistic approach to things. So therefore, I jumped at the chance to write a whole chapter, 3,000 words. Wow. 250 words to 3,000. But this time I'm thinking, I'm loving this whole idea of writing in books. So I did this book. I became an international #1 best-selling author. Woo!
Woo!
Then I decided, wait a minute, I'm a teacher. I can do this. This isn't rocket science. As a teacher, an expert in learning and teaching, I pick things up like that very quickly. And so therefore, I thought, Voices of Courage. I'm going to get women to come and talk about their adversity and how they overcame it. So I got 33 women, Voices of Courage, and lo and behold, I wrote the book. Now, that was great. Women flew in from all over.
That was a #1 bestseller as well. Am I right?
Yeah, they're all #1.
They're all, aren't they? Yeah.
So all of that, and then because I believed in the women and I could elicit wonderful stories from them, I could help them shape it and what to put in it to get into the book. Then after that, I had the bug. And I thought, I want to do another book. And I love this whole idea of voices, because voices means your truth. But it's not your truth. Oh, well, I don't like that top you're wearing today, Jane. That's not your truth. That's your opinion. Truth is based on, is infused with love. And it comes from your inner world. It's nothing to do with the outer world. It's your truth based on you, connected to your values, vision, and mission, and all those life lessons, experiences, expertise, education that you've had. So therefore, I then thought that I'm doing another book, Voices of Hope, because that was when I wanted to start not focusing on the adversity, which Voices of Courage was, but I wanted to focus on the lessons and what did you do as a result. So not just what you learned, but what was the next step. So I then went after women who, not went after, that sounds terrible, but I then, you know what I mean? And then focused on women who had these wonderful stories, but they began a business based on the learning.
Yes.
So then we had another book called Voices of Hope, number one bestseller, all of that. Again, from all over the world. Yeah, you know, and that was brilliant. And then I on the back of that, I worked as an advisor with a publisher on business mentoring and on children's books. Of course, I was a teacher, so I know what makes a great children's book. And then that relationship started to go sour for me and a few other people in that company. And COVID came.
Yeah.
COVID came. And that publisher, so thank God for COVID is what I say. I had it last week for the first time. It's not very pleasant, but, you know, I still thank God for it, because he stopped working with those ladies. And then we had been sort of talking about, oh, God, we could do this job and we could do a better job. And what if, you know, we would make a great team. So sort of just general loose chit chat. But then the COVID happened. But in the January of that year, I was working with a business coach, and the people in the mastermind were starting to approach me going, oh, you're an author, can you help me write my book? So of course, what does Brenda say? Sure, because I can write anything. Don't forget, I taught English for like 16 years. Anyway, so that was fine. But then, can you publish my book? And then other people, I was beginning to get known as someone who did books and publishing. And I thought, I'm not a publisher, but I wasn't going to advocate for this other publisher.
No, you listened to the universal calling.
I did. So I realised, and my partner said to me, Brenda, these books. I thought, I don't want to be a publisher. Do you know how hard it is to be a publisher? Do you know the amount of work that's involved in publishing? It's massive. I want an easy life. But
so you started the publishing company.
Yes, I do not do anything by half, as you know. So book Brilliance Publishing. Now the word brilliance is key, because brilliance is about that inner energy. It's about that cognition. So that's the outer part of it. It's about the inner brilliance. It's a gift. It's a divine light. It's the light within us. So my job, my purpose in life, it's not publishing books. My publishing life is to take someone who wants to publish a book, who wants to share a story, share a voice, share a message, all of that, particularly if they're a business owner. And I will show them their greatness within, and I will help them bring out that brilliance that they use to share and support their client. And so therefore brilliance had to be part of my title. So we talk about book brilliance, we talk about business brilliance, we talk about marketing brilliance, we talk about marketing mindset. Everything is about your brilliance, because then we create ripples of brilliance, and the ripples of brilliance are what create change at a conscious level within the world, because it's all about the inner journey. So I bring out that inner journey in others that's got that brilliance. And we do that through looking at brand, looking at values, vision and mission, the golden thread, and the lessons learned. And that shapes books. Then we shape the chapter framework, and we so anyway, all of that is what we do. But that then, so I started the journey, and we're 3 years old this month, later in the month, 22nd. And in that time, We've published 24 books. We're in 22 countries. We've had over 200. We've had around 200. I don't know if it's gone quite over yet, but it will be shortly. And 200 authors worldwide, and people who've become an author and made a difference in their life. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know how to turn that off.
Okay, that's absolutely amazing.
Anyway,
200,
yeah,
going to be
yeah,
over 200 plus
yeah.
authors worldwide. Amazing.
Yeah, so that drives me now. So I'm speaking. So some days I'm in 4 countries. So yesterday I was in Saudi Arabia. You know, I'm all over the world. I'm in Dubai. I'm in India. We're in Malaysia. We're in America, Canada, and it's just growing from strength to strength. And why are we successful? Because we have the author's adventure. It's all about taking business owners, coaches, therapists, intellectual property, and showing them how to create that legacy based on their life work, on the work that they're doing. Now, your work will change over time as you evolve, because it's an evolution. Nothing stays static, and I would never encourage anybody to stay static. But it's about the evolution. But you've got a core, and your core are values. They will not change. They will not move. They will not move. My main value in life is integrity. So who are you when no one's looking? It's doing the right thing, whether I clean out a cupboard, whether I work with someone on their book, or whether I'm standing on stage, giving my life lessons and talking about it. It's always the best I can do at any one time with what I've got. So my best today might not be my best tomorrow, and hopefully it won't be. And my best 2 talks ago, it could have been my best, but our best will always be an indication of there's more to come, because every day we get better and better and better, because we're constantly working on ourselves, we're constantly improving, we're constantly embracing the 1%. So there's a lot, so you can start to see why it's holistic, because we fuse business ideas, spiritual ideas, mindset, massive to have a growth mindset, and all of these
It does. I want to stop you there, because I want to say it really reminds me of the 4 Agreements, a beautiful, amazing book. And the agreements were: be impeccable with your word, which we've spoken about today. Don't take anything personally. We've spoken about that. Don't make assumptions. We've spoken about that. And always do your best.
And that's, and now as a teacher, so you know, education is it's outdated. It doesn't, it's not fit for purpose. And education is all focused on results, 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 results.
Yeah.
It's not about the human person. We're not shaping our children to be resilient, to be able to make their own decisions. We're not. We're making them. We're fitting them.
We're fitting them into boxes rather than enhancing their different personalities and their creative skills. Yeah,
absolutely. We have to be shaping their curiosity, their creativity, all those traits that we need to be the best human being that we possibly can be. Kindness, of service, all these things, not selfishness, not looking at comparing yourself. Comparison's the thief of joy, as we know. So it's so important then that we shape the world. So that's why it's a holistic approach, and that's why we look at everything and what we offer, and that's what makes us different to any other publisher out there in the world. There's no other publisher, including the top 4, who look after the authors in the way that we look after our authors. We help shape our authors into being the best version of themselves. That doesn't happen in the big world of publishing. But because I'm Brenda Dempsey, because I've had 25 years plus experience in education, because I've been through all the adversity I've been through, because I've chosen to go on the inner journey, because I make the best positive choices. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that. I make mistakes, but I learn from them, and I can correct things, and I get miserable, and I get fed up, and I get imposter syndrome. I get all these things. Why? Because I'm human. But I've also got a tool chest. I've got a treasure chest that allows me to change my state.
So what would it look like if we were to work together? So if somebody went on to your website, which is bookbrilliancepublishing.com, and they contacted you, what would that journey be like? What would it look like for someone to come and work and put their idea and their book and everything through Book Brilliance Publishing?
So one of the things that's really hit me quite recently through the journey that I'm on as a publisher is that when you publish something, number one, it's copyrighted, it becomes your legacy. And it's based on your philosophy, right? So therefore, when people work with us, they've got someone who understands the root, the depth of what it is to be an author. Not just an author, not just a commodity of you buy my book, I'll earn £10 and, you'll be lucky if you get rich on that. So being an author is much bigger. So the journey is 12 months. And sometimes people come with a manuscript, sometimes they don't. They come with the idea, and I love that because
Yeah.
we can shape the brilliant book based on their values, vision, the mission, the golden thread. They are the foundations. As I say, the Burj Khalifa, tallest building in the world, has deep, deep, deep foundations. So therefore, you cannot build a business. You cannot build anything or be anybody if you do not have consciousness and awareness, awakened awareness. You don't know what you don't know without going deep. So when you come to us, you think, oh, I'm writing a book and you're doing all these things, but actually you transform. I cannot tell you, every single author transforms, whether they think they will or not. They do, because of the work. Number one, it's high energy, as you can tell. So I am energy. I am sunshine energy, and I use that energy to inspire, empower, motivate my authors into action, because without action, so they're coming with this intention of writing a book, but they soon realize that writing a book, there's more to it than they thought. And
there is. I only did one chapter and I was like, oh my gosh, this is
way
more than I thought.
Way more to it. And then also the other myth you need to burst is, I've got a book, everybody will buy it in the world. No, if that's what you think, then you've got another thought. You need to develop a marketing mindset.
A lot of collaborative marketing.
Next, yes, because
doesn't it?
This whole journey, we say you drive and we navigate, because when authors come to us, they own 100% of the copyright of the book. We don't own anything. It's theirs. And a lot of people, self-publishing, that's what it is. But when you publish, when you do a traditional publishing, you don't own it. You've signed your rights away to your publisher. But although you sign an agreement with us, you keep 100% of the copyright. So absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, it's your story. I don't own it. I'm just there as your facilitator. I'm there as your guide, your navigator. So every single step of the way is collaborative. We have now got a platform on the Academy, where we've got all our lessons, all the things that you need to learn to become a successful author that has a successful business, and all the things around that. And so there's 6 stages to that. So we develop your brand, and from that branding, then we've got marketing, pre-marketing, post-marketing. You learn about the publishing and the distribution, how your book's distributed around 200 countries in the world with 40,000 outlets. That's what you have when you come and work with us and use our ISBNs. You get business development. We look at your business model. You may have one, but how will your book fit into that business model? So we tweak your business model. We make sure it's fit for purpose, and we make sure it's streamlined, so it's simple. We're not here to make anything complicated. It's all about the art of simplicity. It's the KISS, keep it simple, smart. Be smart
Yes.
about it. So we work with goals and planning, all those sort of left-hand brain things that we need, but we use our right-hand side of the brain for the creativity, keeping yourself curious, asking questions. We work on emotional intelligence. So we work in all of that issue. We leave you ready to step into your leadership if you're not already a leader. We are all leaders. We're all born leaders. But, some people can lead more than others. They've got that desire. You need to have that desire to lead, and actually you have to do a whole lot more work. Even though you think you've done a lot of work on yourself, there's a deeper depth you have to go as a leader, who makes an impact in the world, who influences and inspires. So there's 6 stages, and then the biggest thing that we talk about is beyond your book, because what you're going to do now that you've got a book in your hand, and that's where the fun begins. So working with us is collaborative. It's easy because you don't need to think. You just need to follow the
steps.
Follow the steps. Follow the path. It's already been done. It's tried and tested. It works, including being a best-selling author. We include all of that so that you can become an Amazon best-selling author. And so we offer that. And of course, support and guidance that's unparalleled in the publishing industry. Because it's
fantastic. That's fantastic news. That's fantastic. It's ever such a journey. And like you say, once the book's written, my gosh, that's where it all starts then, doesn't it? Because that process of the marketing and the selling and the sharing, you could have the best book in the world, but if you don't do that section, you've got no one reading it.
So one of the key fundamentals, if not a pillar, is visibility. So I've had people, and I'll say, tell me about your social media. Oh, I don't go on social media. I don't like it. I thought, well, I'm not your publisher. You either change and you follow what we say, or, go and self-publish is what I would say to that.
Yeah.
Also, what I do say, I say to people, if you want to make hundreds of thousands of pounds from selling your books, I am not your publisher.
Yeah.
But if you want to make a difference in the world and impact and grow your business and really understand what your purpose is, I'm your publisher.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautifully said. Have you got any kind of top tips or advice for the audience that they can kind of get going? And I think that was one of them, like whether to work with you, self-publish, or go elsewhere. So that was a great
So what I say to people is, what is the purpose of, number one, who are you? And what's the purpose of your book? Now, if you're anybody on a mission to make a difference and want to impact the world, self-publishing is not your route, because you don't know what you're doing. It'd be like somebody giving you a manual and saying, go and build an Aston Martin.
Yes.
Right? We can't, I'm not saying it takes 1 in so many million to be successful as a self-published author, but most people don't have what it takes. I'm sorry. They don't. They need someone to believe in them. They need someone to motivate them. How do I know that? 25 years of teaching and working with adults, plus the 6 years of being in publishing. So I know that from all that experience. It's a very, very, even highly motivated people, even people with that, they need to shift their lens and make a shift in their mindset, as to no matter what, they know writing a book's the long game. It's not the short game. It's not like mentality. And that is what self-publishing does. You get people, write a book in 30 days. Actually, and I know people will spend £3,000-4,000 doing these courses. No way will you write a book in 30 days. I'm a don't know if I'd say talented writer, but an experienced writer. Could I write a whole book in 30 days? A first draft, possibly, but not a product. And this is what these people are saying, you know. And, oh yeah, we'll get it, and we'll get it up on Amazon, and lo and behold, no, because people don't know the legalities around. I know authors that I've had to say, take your book down or you'll go to jail, because
Oh my gosh, really?
oh yeah, absolutely, because they've got so much copyright in their book that they didn't know. They've plagiarized right, left, and center. They've used things. They've used things, but they don't know. I'm not.
Yeah, they're not doing it on
No,
purpose.
no, they're
Yeah,
not.
they just don't have the knowledge.
They
And
don't
when you
have the
go
knowledge.
with a publishing agent, you bring the knowledge. You bring the knowledge, don't you?
We bring knowledge and expertise and skill. Most people want the book, but they don't have all of that. How could they? How could they? Even if they're a writer in another field, how you write your book and what goes in. Now, let me just finish with this. Last week in the Bookseller, and the Bookseller is a magazine that goes that all the book trade subscribe to and use to put the books in the shops and libraries and all sorts of places, right? And last week they did an article, and that article is like, there is a huge appetite now for non-fiction books. People are now looking for experts, and when you write a book, that makes you an expert. Experts who can help them live a better life. That's music to my ears.
Yeah.
Because now we've got the people even above me now saying how important non-fiction books are. But those books, it's not enough. So I'm working with an author who wrote a non-fiction book, but she forgot to write what the lessons were. She forgot to tell her audience what they were. So guess what? You must make sure you include that. So therefore, I know exactly what needs to be. I know the recipe. So we use the recipe, and you create a great book, and then we market it, and then we make it a brilliant book, you know, because it's got your brilliance in it.
Fantastic. This is a bit of a put you on the spot, but do you have an offer for our audience, or, you know, a way of getting in touch, having that conversation with you?
So if they go to my website, www.bookbrilliancepublishing.com, they'll see a connect or a contact tab.
Yeah.
Just fill that in. Tell me that you heard me speak on Stay Sane with Jane, and I will give you £1,000 off your book deal.
Oh my gosh, I was not expecting that, Brenda. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, audience, you are incredibly lucky if you are listening now and you have that idea. You want to put your idea out there. You want to help people. You want to help the world with it. Please get in touch with Brenda at www.bookbrilliancepublishing.com and connect with them. Say you heard Brenda speak, you heard Brenda's interview on Stay Sane with Jane, and they will give you £1,000 off your publishing deal. That is amazing. Thank you so much, Brenda.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for this opportunity, Jane. It's great, number one, to connect and have this conversation with you. And it's two, to share my message, because that's my purpose, my passion, and my pleasure. And it's what I do. It's what I love. And here's my last statement. Do what you love and love what you do.
Most definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Brenda. It's been so gorgeous to connect with you and hear all about Book Brilliance Publishing. It sounds like an absolutely amazing company with a really how would I put it? Honest core values within it, who are really, you know, you're helping share the brilliance of your authors with the world.
Absolutely. Oh, I've got my goosebumps. You spoke my truth.
Thank you so much. And listen, if you are listening or watching, the details for Brenda, how to connect with her, will be above, below. There'll be somewhere here. If you're listening on the radio, then all you've got to do is Google Brenda Dempsey, and also you can Google book Brilliance Publishing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane.
Stay sane with Jane, the show that helps you and your business to thrive, not just survive. Tune in each week as Jane connects with guests in the wellness, business and publishing worlds, bringing you the most up-to-date training, techniques, healing and guidance for growth, mindset and motivation.